Hi, welcome to A Quiet Rebellion Against the Ordinary podcast. And today I have a special guest with me, Vincent McMahon. I hope I pronounced it right.
Yep.
All the way from Italy, but coming from Dublin originally. So thank you so much for spending some time to chat with me today.
You're really welcome, Lyn. It's a pleasure, absolute pleasure to be on the podcast with you.
Oh, thank you. So let's just jump straight in. What I want to ask you is, what is ordinary to you, or what was your ordinary before your life became a bit more interesting?
God, you really do ask the questions. Yeah, what's ordinary? I'm not quite sure. I guess, I started doing some kind of crazy stuff, so that probably kicked off a life that was different. I was working in computers, and it wasn't really doing it for me. It was quite challenging work, and I was in computers in the 80s, which was great because they were only going on people's desks, and some people thought they were going to explode. It was quite an early time. When you have them now, you kind of think, well, there are loads of them around, you have them on your phone. But actually then, people didn't have them in offices on desks and stuff like that. So it was actually quite a very exciting time.
How big was the server room?
Well, they kind of brought in servers, a little bit late, but it was quite small in that there weren't a lot of things you were doing with companies on computer. So actually they were brought in on a very small, slow basis. Do you know what I mean? It's only later that we got server rooms. I remember putting in a big system into a hospital, and we got funding from the department for it, and the CEO of the hospital was delighted and brought them all down to the room, and he was looking for it. Was only small servers, and he was like, "We got all the funding. Where is it? Where are all the flashing lights?" So we ended up getting a hard drive with a lot of flashing lights. So I brought it down. They said he was totally happy that he saw something that justified all the funding and justified, But it was an amazing time, and I got to meet Bill Gates and all, the usual, not the usual.
The usual stuff.
No, but at that time he wasn't. It was an early version of Windows, so it was a really exciting time, and to introduce people to technologies and new things was great. Except for me, it wasn't really doing it for me for some reason. So I had a kind of an internal niggle to find out, why. I don't know why we do things as humans that we do. It's just this question within me. So I ended up doing lots of things separately, going to stay with a tribe in West Papua, doing loads of workshops in different countries, and just reading beyond reading, loads of books to find out why do we do what we do. So I had 2 feet. I had one foot in the kind of IT technology side, and then I had other foot that was actually, exploring all this, why humans do what humans do, and then I guess at some point the two, they were obviously going to join, and so my work has become my passion, really, so my curiosity has become what I do. I can't say I found out the Holy Grail. I haven't got the exact answer that they say is 42 or something like that. I don't have an exact answer, but I've discovered lots of things, so that's been amazing.
I want to go back to your time with the tribe. That is beyond exciting. It's amazing. What did you learn there?
Yeah, I learned loads. It was quite strange. I went to a course in Ireland and on deep ecology, and I hadn't been to loads of courses like this. So I was kind of sitting in a big circle, really, the way you're full of excitement because everything is different. How they sit, because I was used to kind of IT courses where you all sit like a classroom, and I was going, you guys are all sitting in a circle here. What's going on? So. And they were doing loads of different, parts of ceremony, parts of ritual, and I was fascinated by the whole thing. And one of the guys who was invited on the course was a tribal person called Sem Koroba from West Papua. And at the break time, I don't know what happened. I ended up sitting with him for coffee. We just struck it off. And I'm going how does somebody who's 16,000 miles away from a tribe up the hills, his sense of humor is Irish. Do you know what I mean? We're having jokes. We're having the best fun. The coffee breaks and all. So at the course, finished the course then, we kept in touch, and he was in Ireland. He didn't have a place to stay at a certain point, so I asked him to stay down with me in Wicklow, which is about 40 kilometres south of Dublin. And so he stayed, and his whole journey is he did talks with the United Nations. It's to raise awareness for West of his people, because in the United Nations split Papua New Guinea between two. West Papua went to Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea went to Australia. They just cut it down the middle. If you look at the map, it's just a line down the middle. The United Nations said, here Australia, here Indonesia. Like, it's ludicrous. It's ludicrous, really. Anyway, the election was a bit of a sham. But so he wanted to raise the whole struggle of his people, and I was amazed, because I wanted to visit a rainforest and all. He said, well, you've got to come over and visit our people. So it all happened very quickly. I was like, that sounds like a great idea. Not having any idea like what I was getting myself in for. So he stayed with me for 6 months, and I didn't realize that during that 6 months he was kind of putting me through my paces to make sure I understood what I was getting myself in for, even though I had no idea. So I got over there, and it's funny to look at things now, because like even Bear Grylls as a camera team, I had nobody. Like, I just went over by myself. He couldn't go in because of security reasons. The Indonesians knew him. So I just went in by myself. They didn't speak English. So I'm kind of sitting with people. They're showing me loads of things, but I can't talk to them properly. You can use a universal language like food and, different things like drink, and the universal language, but you can't really kind of talk to them. So he had given me all the information before I went in. So I understood what was happening. And they brought me from village to village, up over the highlands, another village, 8 hours walk to another village, then you walk to another village, because they wanted me to understand the rainforest, how the people live in absolute balance with the rainforest. And it's just abundant. Like, they're just picking bananas off, like, there's no, I'm looking at IT struggle. I'm looking at all these things of people, struggling with bills. And I'm sitting over there going, I could actually just live here. Like, I wouldn't have to think about anything. Like, they work okay, but there's not a lot of work. Like, they just work in the fields. There's loads of vegetables. There's loads of fruit. There's not a massive, 40-hour week with all the commuting that I was doing in computers. That just didn't exist for them. But it was just like walking through, they just are the forest. And it was funny, because I was saying to them, or Sam, when I was outside, I was saying, nature, I kept on talking about nature. And he said, they don't understand. When you say the nature, they've no idea what you're talking about. And I go, but like, it's the trees and the things. He said, but they have no feeling. When you say nature, you're pointing outside you to a thing that doesn't exist. Nature is just them. They're just the forest. So they don't even physically understand nature as a separate entity. I was like, what? This isn't, like, they don't even get it. When I say the nature, they're going, what are you talking about? They don't, if they would understand my English. But so there were loads of things that were just so foreign to me, but just so natural to them, that they just live in an abundant landscape. And they're just supported all the time by it. They don't have a sense that there's lack or scarcity. None of that exists for them.
It seems absolutely impossible, coming from like this Western mindset, that those people can even exist in this world, isn't it? Well, for me, it seems like that.
Well, it's funny, because I live in southern Italy now, and I've really struggled. Like, I'm here 2.5 years, and I've really struggled over the last 2 years, and I shouldn't, but like, it's like harvest upon harvest. You have, like, say in midsummer, you've got all the tomatoes and you've got all the gorgeous vegetables, right? And you're just finished, and I'm going, okay, we've tomatoes that they leave them on the door in bags for us. I don't even know who some of the people are. I'm going like, this is just, and then they go, well, yeah, that's the tomato harvest. We now move to the grape harvest. And I go, no, we're just finished. And they go, no, the grapes are coming in now. We do too. And then they finish the grapes to move on to the olive harvest. And I'm just going, this is just such an abundant landscape. I struggle with that amount of abundance, But obviously now I'm easier with it. It's just taken as normal here. But I do understand the disconnection between a Western mindset that doesn't feel that abundance. I mean, when I was working in IT, my check would go into my bank account. All the direct debits would go out of my bank account. I would never feel the abundance.
It's so true.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't get a pile of money saying, here's your abundance for the work that you're doing. And then you would pay the abundance. Yes, because you get a sense of giving the abundance, sharing the abundance on with other people. But the whole idea in the bank system is you don't feel it. It's gone into your bank account. It's gone out of your bank account. And then I would pick up whatever was left over, because all the direct debits, the bank want all the direct debits at the start of the month to make sure they get them. And then I would work off whatever was left after all the, mortgages, life insurance, all these things. So I really feel that disconnect that I think we, and it is major in my book, that there's two different experiences of life. One is to feel that absolute abundance, where the universe is really a caring universe. I mean, I've said to somebody recently, a mother giving her children on their way to school in autumn, giving their children vitamin C to make sure that they don't get colds and flu, we'd see that as love. It's automatically love. The mother loves her children, make sure they have their vitamin C, they don't get colds. But we get vitamin C from nature in citrus fruits and berries in autumn, specifically so that we don't get colds and flu. Look, but we don't call that love. We kind of go, well, that's random. Nature evolved randomly, and these things just kind of arrived. And I go like, sounds like love to me. And so a lot of the vegetables and fruit we get could be horrendous. They could taste horrendous, but they don't. They taste gorgeous. So, there's so much that we get that I've in researching the book that is happening in the world, that nature is really caring, and it's specific to what you need. You get oxygen because you need oxygen. You don't get helium. We were talking about before, but nature gives you exactly what you need. You're getting vitamin C. You're not getting something else that you don't need. So it's a practical love that I find. It's not a kind of a spiritual, oh, we're all love. That doesn't work for me, really. I have to. I guess it's my analytical background that I need some science behind it. I need some evidence. I need to research it and make sure that I've got lots of data to say, oh yes, that this is what's happening. This makes sense to me. Yeah.
So you mentioned your book. So tell us a little bit more about your book, Custodians, which is out now, right now.
It's out, yeah, it's out now. I haven't got a physical copy yet, which sounds strange, but I'm due to get one this afternoon, which is great. Basically, it is a journey that I've taken, which is, I was, as we say, living with a tribe. I came back. I was all talk about the rainforest and all. But actually I was driving like a 2.3 liter car. I was commuting, I was spending all around me. So I wasn't really walking the talk. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was great in my mind and I was very passionate about it. And obviously I've been to the tribe and loads of workshops and stories and books and all. So I could do a lot of talking, but I really wasn't living it. So part of the journey for me was that inner journey where I found, the book is called Custodians, and to be custodian of the earth is very important for me, and that's what I wanted to be when I was working in IT. But I wasn't a custodian of myself. Like, I was being dragged into all these different things, way out of my center, to provide for my family. Now, provision for your family is fine, but there are psychological roles and behaviors when we don't feel good enough about ourselves, and we don't feel the abundance of the earth, that we have these psychological things that drive us. I was being driven by all these, and that involves a lot of spending, a lot of traveling, and the earth has to pick up the bill for all these psychological things that drive us. So I remember being on a course, and the teacher said, you realize that your unconscious behavior is 90% of what drives you. You're only 10% conscious. So I did research on this and I found out it's totally true. Like, we're only 10% conscious. We're 90% unconscious. So I said, holy God, like in IT, if somebody said that to me about a system or about an implementation, if you didn't look at the 90%, you'd be silly. So I was going, hold on a minute. If it was 50-50, we're 50% unconscious, we're 50% conscious, I kind of go, we stand a chance, you know, flip of a coin. One action is conscious, one action is unconscious. But
90% is crazy.
90% is crazy. So that's when I said, when I turned to that inner work, it became, how do I understand the subconscious? How do I understand what drives my behavior? And then I found out about all these roles that we do, like good son, I'll be good dad, I'll be, you know, I'll do all these things as all these roles, they're fine when you're very young because you've got a lot of energy. But as you get into, you know, as you begin to get into the middle, yeah, they just wear you down. You know, they're like suits of armor, you know, and they're also unconscious. So you're doing all these things. It's not you. It's not me. It doesn't mean I really want to provide. You know, I do want to be a good dad, but in my center, in what's authentic to me. I don't want to be, you know, putting on a cape as Superman and flying around trying to help everybody. Like, come on, it's just, you know, and so I ended up buying houses, you know, all these things, traveling loads that I didn't really need to do, you know. So, and I think that's what we do. I think, you know, I'm not any different from other people. And when I realized that my father had these roles as well, and I inherited them directly from him, and you know, God bless him, and to be very true, it didn't end very well, you know, because it just, they all come together. They accumulate over time, and you don't have the energy after a while. So for me, it was very important that when we talk about the planet and helping the planet, that we have to be custodians of our own behavior. That 90% has to feel, for me, the big ones are, we have to feel abundant, we have to feel worthy, and we have to feel loved. Like, because we just are, like, we are abundant. I'm here, as I say, it's just the landscape is abundant, and I feel it because the check isn't going to the post. You know, I get the vegetables, I get the fruit, I feel it. I really feel the abundance here. From a worthiness point of view, like when we look at babies in a maternity ward, you know, the way they have behind the glass, there's all these babies in little baskets. It's like that. But they're all worthy. We don't go, oh, some of them are worthy, some of them aren't worthy. And they're all different races, different nationalities, different whatever, you know, male, female, it doesn't matter. They're all worthy. And nature doesn't go, well, there's oxygen for the Chinese, but there's no oxygen for, you know, where. Nature doesn't do any of that. It doesn't say one race is above another race. Everybody deserves the abundance, every single person. So there are simple things. I think we can experience the world in two different ways. We can experience it in the Western model, which is disconnected. We all feel disconnected. Mm-hmm. And when we're isolated and disconnected, we consume more. Loads of research on that. We just consume more. Now, governments and companies aren't going to say stop consuming, and they want us to do all that. So they're happy that we're all isolated in different houses, buying all and consuming all. But we still feel disconnected. We don't want to be. So we get on social media trying to get connection, but it's a counterfeit connection. It's not really true connection.
Do you have any tips for us who are sitting here in our, you know, disconnected state to feel more abundant? Is there anything that we can do right now?
Well, I think the first thing is to, you know, is to understand simple things like when you're if you're breathing out carbon dioxide, right? The plants, you've got trees in your back garden. Those trees, that's what they want. They want carbon dioxide. They're breathing out oxygen. That's exactly what you want. So I guarantee you, if you walk out your back garden, you'll see the trees actually leaning into you. You're special because you're giving them what they want, carbon dioxide. They'll actually begin to lean in and go, this is amazing. We've got somebody who's given us carbon dioxide and we can give her some oxygen. Like, that's abundance before we even think about it.
And you can do that anywhere.
If a forest or even a house plant, you have a connection, you're automatically connected. So I breathe out carbon dioxide here, all the trees get it. They breathe oxygen, I get that. I'm automatically connected to them. I feel the abundance of that. If I go down the market, I see the vegetables. I really consciously make sure that the vegetables are love. I see citrus vegetables now as vitamin C and love from nature. I don't see it as I'll just get some oranges. I really do you know, make it that connection. And so it's important for me, you know, in the book, we are connected. And it's interesting that I saw an image from a scientist showing that the galaxies are connected as well. So it's like even at a lower quantum level, the atoms are connected, the galaxies are connected. We're connected through oxygen and carbon dioxide to the plants. Like there's a phenomenal web of connection if we really bring our awareness to it, you know.
Going back to your book, do you give ideas and exercises throughout your book about how people can feel more connected to themselves and the earth?
At the beginning of the book, I have custodianship tips, which a friend said was a good idea. Amazing to put them in, and then I move into kind of meditations, just for you to get. For me, it's important that you, exactly as you say, that you experience the abundance. That you experience. It's not like a theory. So I've put in the meditations, and I've also put them online on SoundCloud, so you can actually listen to the meditations as opposed to just read them. And you can download them to your phone and play them as well.
That sounds fantastic. Have you got any kind of like online group or online webpage where people who want to feel more connected can contact you, or maybe they can share their results of their connectiveness experiments?
I think this is the whole point. Like Custodians is for me like a global community. If we're isolated and we're doing our own, like this, I found millions of people doing loads of simple things because they just love nature, but yet they're isolated individuals. So to me, adding them all together and showing that we have a web of people who are actually doing amazing things feels great. It feels like, you know, because you look at it and you go, oh my God, we're destroying the planet. But actually there's a huge amount being done. So I set up a Custodians page on Facebook. So I'm posting things that are kind of current about custodians that are doing things around the world. And on my website, I've put a Custodians directory of the projects that I feel, because sometimes you just feel a bit down. You kind of feel overwhelmed, kind of like, are we making a change? Are we making progress? So so the directory of projects is great to just dip in, look at a video of somebody doing phenomenal work. And you just feel, wow, we're not losing, you know, we're actually really having an impression.
It doesn't help that the media doesn't portray these people doing, you know, great stuff. This is like the reason why I wanted to do this podcast as well, because people are doing wonderful things, but there's no coverage at all about the good stuff that goes on.
Yeah, well, you see, in the unconscious, that 90%, we actually love drama. But the drama is, for me, it's like go to the movie, get the drama, you know, come out of the movie, and then, but don't plaster it all over your life, because it just uses a lot of resources. It's a lot of energy, and also, you know, it's not your purpose. When you see drama, it's the roles, the internal roles that are kicking off that are unconscious. It's very unconscious. And so for me, yeah, it just get your drama. I mean, I like movies, I like the drama, I like all that, but I contain it within it, you know, and come out and go, I like my life to be peaceful, abundant. You know, I like a nice piece of life. So I think that's the best way to do it.
So if people just go to your website, click on your directory, and then they can find projects that people are doing good things for the earth.
And just because they're passionate about a certain thing, like one guy's just passionate about a certain type of tree, and so he inherited land in the States, and he just, you know, grew these trees. So he just loves that tree. So they're just quirky, amazing projects. Do you know what I mean? Another guy in India, there was a sand kind of island in the middle of a river, and a load of snakes died on the island because there was no vegetation. And he got this thing like, what if humans just died? What if the vegetation wasn't there and the humans died? And he went to the elders in the tribe, and they gave him little saplings, and they said, just plant trees, go plant trees. And so he went onto the island, and he started in 1989, and he just planted trees. Every day he just went and planted trees. And now it's a national reserve. It has elephants, it has deer, it's got Bengal. He's got 5 Bengal tigers who come on to the island because it's full of vegetation. He just planted trees, just one person. So it's amazing that what we can do as individuals.
Yeah.
In Cuba, the opposite happened. In Cuba, they were supported by Russia, because obviously the communist regime. And when communism fell, all the support, and Russia was sending them fertilizers and chemicals. all that stopped when Russia collapsed. So Cuba had no money, no fertilizers, no chemicals. So they did the opposite of the guy planting trees. They just did nothing because they didn't have the money to fertilize and do the chemicals. And the coral reefs because the water coming in out to the sea is so clear, the coral reefs off Cuba are like some type of magical wonderland because they did nothing. So we don't always have to plant. If we give nature a healing breath, just give it a healing breath, it automatically comes back because it's so resilient, it's so strong. The web of connections are so strong that they come back very quickly.
That chap in India is a great example. When you feel like the problem is too big because there's a bad media and you think that the world is in such a terrible state, and you become overwhelmed and think that you can't make a difference, you're just one person, and yet there's someone who has just proved that completely wrong.
Well, I think the elders are great. They just said, they gave a bunch of stuff, just go, like, do something. Don't spiral in your thoughts. Just action, do something simple. Just start it going, yeah.
So where are you going to take Custodians next? Have you got books lined up, more books or talks, or where is it taking you?
I've got a book launch in Dublin over the next few weeks, and I'm doing a talk in Dublin as well while I'm over. Then there's the beginnings of a book launch in London as well, and some talks as well. So that's, yeah. So then I don't know. The book itself has an energy. I know this is, even for me, sounds kind of crazy, but there's something going on with the book that I feel people, magically, asking me things and wanting things, and I'm going. Years ago, I'd be a real struggle. I'd do it myself. I'd have to climb the mountain by myself. But the book has been an amazing team. It's a village that's created the book really, and it has its own energy. So I'm glad to be just part of the journey. Just get part of the journey. Obviously, I have to be a voice for it, but I think because it's in a sense it's kind of pure. It is that custodian pureness that everybody wants to help the earth. It's not. It's just a very simple thing to do. We just want to help it get back in balance. But I think we have to be back in balance. And the earth just rebalances automatically. But if we're out of balance inside, that 90%, if we're out of balance inside, that's reflected outside. And that's what we're seeing around the world. So to me, the inside, get that 90% back in balance. And it's just by feeling abundant, by feeling love, by just feeling what is automatically our birthright. And we come back into balance. When I was in Papua, they were just in balance with nature. They were just, they knew nature was abundant. They just knew nature loved them. They didn't have any problem with that. So there wasn't any lack or scarcity and unworthiness. They were running around trying to do all these things. You know what I mean? It was just a more balanced way of living. And so I think everybody benefits by that.
So I think you're doing amazing work. You're such an inspiration. So
thanks.
Where can people find out more about you, and where can they work with you if they wish to?
My website is www.vincentmcmahon.com. That's Vincent, McMahon.com. So I'm available for talks, and also my work outside the book and based on the book is with CEOs and politicians and leaders, because they have impact. For them to be custodians of themselves, then they impact the people who they look after. So and so the interconnectedness of leaders like that, I think are quite strategic. So I love working with politicians and business leaders. Yeah.
And where can people get your book?
It's available on Amazon. I'll obviously be in Dublin. I'm bringing some over, getting some couriered over as well. So Amazon, it's on Kindle and paperback, and I'll have copies in Dublin. And also when I do the talk in London, I'll bring some as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you, Vincent.
You're really welcome, Lyn, and best of luck with the work. It's great. It's a great podcast to be part of.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for joining me today.
Really
thank you everyone for listening. So thank you, and until next time.